You're on the burning question debate on India today, and we are discussing the pocket pinch that the petrol and diesel prices have caused to yours and mine. Now, before we went into the break, we were discussing with the BJP guest why the government has been unable to raise other revenues for their kitty, and also why is the finance ministry not looking at cutting down the huge taxes that we pay on price of diesel and petrol. There is a tweet. This tweet is by Narendra Modi verified account of May 23rd, 2012, when the Prime Minister was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And he said, massive hike in petrol prices is a prime example of the failure of Congress-led UPA. This will put a burden of hundreds of crores on Gujarat. Well, Prime Minister Modi, now you are the Prime Minister of not only 100 crores of Gujaratis, but also of 1.21 billion Indians, and your policy can now be said the same. Well, possibly they forget when they are in opposition and when they are in power. Another development that has taken place in the meanwhile, Gopal Agarwal, the BJP spokesperson who was defending the government, saying that there is no other option, we will continue increasing the prices, has now left the studio. I don't know whether it was an earlier commitment or Mr. Agarwal is unable to take the questions that we are putting here on India Today. Let me now get in Vinayak Dalmia on this. Vinayak Dalmia, two set of rules, it seems, for the BJP when they are in opposition and when they are in power.
Mr. Agarwal seems to have felt the price hike and the heat. Yes, absolutely, two set of rules. And you know, you spoke about the common man and whether the middle class is irrelevant. I don't agree with that, because the middle class really does matter in politics and in election, because they set the narrative. Please remember, they set the narrative and they set the agenda. And you know, if you remember, for example, way back in Delhi, the price of onions was actually what toppled the government. And that was obviously what was affecting directly the middle class. You know, and if you look at, for example, other countries, Bill Clinton, the former president of the US, you know, made a very nice, elegant statement, said it's the economy stupid. And it does every single time, in every single election, time and again, it comes back to the economy, it comes back to jobs, it comes back to growth, and it comes back to prosperity. Come what may, come what regime, come what country. And you know, even if you look at the cascading effect of oil, it starts with the middle class, it starts with urban India, it goes to rural India. It's not that the farmers who are already facing a rural distress are not going to be affected by a higher price of oil and diesel.
I take your point, Rajeev, but why is it then we don't see the government doing enough, be it the prices of oil, or even in the budget? There was a lot of expectation of the middle class this time with the budget, with the tax slabs, you know, with more that they can possibly save. That did not happen. So again, I come back to the same question. As an economist also, does the middle class not matter politically, and only just before the elections possibly there are certain measures that are being done for them?
You know, one of the reasons why this is happening is also the fact that that the center has not been able to ramp up the revenues on GST. And if you look at the peak of the GST collections was in September of 2017, when they got about 90 to 95,000 crore. July and August were in the 90,000 crore range. And then since then, it's been a regular slide month on month. You know, February collections were somewhere around 80,000 crore. So it's a 15,000 crore drop in per month. Government was expecting between 90 and 92,000 crore for it to sustain the kind of expense, you know, the infrastructure expenses that it is into. Now, if you are going to be short by 12,000 crore every month, there is no way that you will ever get to a situation where you can cut prices on fuel at this point in time. Like I said, it's a low-hanging fruit. It's easy money, like it is in liquor and it is in sin goods like cigarettes. So you know, you just impose, you know, their consumption doesn't drop, and you continue to rake in money.
As somebody who understands this much better than all of us, what can the government do? Because as you were pointing out, the GST revenue is coming down. We are seeing that the petrol and diesel prices are going up. You're saying that the government right now has caught themselves in a vicious circle. They would not be able to get out of it. Apart from that, we don't see much relief as far as the interest rates are concerned. What can the government do to bring some relief? Ultimately, they can't claim economic success if our pockets are bleeding.
The best thing they can do, which they do essentially, is to raise debt from the market and pay for the expenses that it is incurring, which is in the form of infrastructure investments. So that's what they do. But raising debt actually has its own implications. It increases your fiscal deficit, it increases your inflation. So as far as the government is concerned, there are very few options. There are very limited options available. The only thing it can do is to ensure that GST collections get to where they are supposed to be, which is in the 90 to 95,000 crore per month. And if we can get to that stage, there will be some relief that it will be able to provide in the form of cut in fuel prices. If it's not going to be able to implement GST the way it was hoping for, and if GST avoidance continues to be to the level that it is, there is actually no hope right now.
Well, Mr. Dalmia, I would like to give you the last word on this. That also then it means once again back to the basic question. Demonetization did not work the way many people were expecting it to. With GST again, it seems that it was hurriedly implemented, and that is why we don't see it going up to the levels that Rajeev is in fact pointing out that it should be, and that is why the government is caught in a very difficult place.
Absolutely, and this is a classic symptom of what happens when you try and copy an idea without full thought, and you don't understand the full design and architecture of the GST, and you are in a hurry to implement it. Congress was the first to propose the GST, and then the BJP at that point, I like to remind our viewers, had fully opposed it, including the Prime Minister. And now they were in a hurry to implement it. They didn't fully think it through, and this is a classic symptom of what happened. Demonetization was an ill-advised and ill-thought action. GST is the same. And now, I'd like to come back to oil. I'd like to remind our viewers, as you have rightly pointed out, we are the largest priced in South Asia. This is in an environment when international prices have been low. Now, if you look at any forecast, international prices of oil are going to go up. There's going to be an OPEC cut of supply. There's going to be an increase in demand. What are you going to do then? You don't have any elbow room, as the editor rightly pointed out. Nobody's talking about the international pricing going up, which every forecast will tell you is going to go up. So what are you going to do?
The only thing I want to add is that this was supposed to be 16-17 period was supposed to be a kind of a temporary growth in your collections, right? Because of this excise. You shouldn't have accounted for it as a permanent income.
That's right.
This is not permanent income. Permanent income is your GST collections. Make sure that the economy starts firing. Your collections in GST will start rising. Consumption will rise, and so your collections in GST will start rising.
For all that data jugglery right now, there needs to be certain basic adjustments that Rajeev need to be done, so that at least we see, as you are saying in your words, the economy starts firing, so that at least the burden on the common man can come down. Remember, we are heading into the election year. There is important state elections as well, starting with Karnataka in 2019, the big Lok Sabha election. This possibly, along with the rural agriculture distress, could be the defining factors for the next year general election. Thank you so much, Rajeev. Thank you so much to Mr. Dalmia as well. Mr. Gopal Agarwal, we did miss you in the second half of the debate. You could have at least presented the government's point of view on that. Before I go, I would once again want to tell you how the common man is facing the heat. This report comes in by my colleague Shalini Lobo from Chennai.
Petrol and diesel prices at an all-time high, 76.62, which is petrol, and 68.26 with a daily revision. At 6 a.m. every day, the prices have been going up by 11 and 12 paise. How is this affecting the common man in Chennai? Sir, petrol and diesel prices have been at a constant high, and now it's been increasing by 11 paise, 12 paise. How is this affecting your daily budget?
No, actually it has been affecting a very much lot to the middle class people as well. It has to be reduced, I think, so the government has to take immediate action to reduce it.
Thank you so much, sir. This is what one person is saying, that the government has to take immediate action to reduce the prices. Should petrol and diesel be bought under GST, or should further reduction of, how is the reduction of excise duty actually affecting it? Because right now, students are being hit by this, the middle class is being hit by this, the common man who gets a daily wage, who comes here to fill his motorbike, he is also being hit by these spiraling prices of petrol and diesel in the state. With video journalist Vijay Shekhar, Shalini Lobo in Chennai, India Today.
All right. In fact, I just have to slip into a very quick break, but I would just like to remind our viewers of how political goalposts change when you are in opposition and when you are ruling. This is a tweet by Prime Minister Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat in May 2012. Massive hike in petrol prices, a prime example of failure of Congress-led UPA. This will put a burden of hundreds of crores on Gujarat. Just reminding the Prime Minister, many would construe it as the failure of the BJP-led NDA under him as well.